In the past few weeks, I noticed that my ability to focus and concentrate have decreased a lot, and I've been functioning like this for a couple of months without even being aware of it. And you might wonder, how can you measure or notice something like this in the first place? And for me, it was a simple comparison between myself from this year and last year. As in last year, I was fortunate enough to quit my job, study full-time for 5 to 6 months for a job interview. And during that time, I was researching how can I improve my focus, how can I improve my ability to problem solve and be sharper and faster. And I came across the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. And this brings us to today's video topic about boredom and focus. And why should you care?
We live in a world full of distractions. We are all in our smartphones nowadays, jumping from one notification and message to the other. Whether we're standing in line, waiting for a friend, or even in the bathroom, we immediately take our phone out and start mindlessly scrolling on our Facebook or Instagram. Or if you are eating a meal, we're probably watching YouTube.
And now you're probably like, I know this shit, I heard it millions of times before. What's your point, Sherlock? Bear with me. In the past year, when I reached that level of focus, the ability to stick to boring tasks and mentally challenging problems for long hours without drifting or daydreaming, I have my phone almost 80% of the day on airplane mode. And my friends complaining that I'm not reachable and I have no life. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you have to have no life in order to get to that level of concentration. It doesn't need to be that black and white. I simply put myself in such position because I was living on my savings and I needed to get the job done. And I'm not a big fan of having a plan P. So P, fucking P and the Arabic. B, having a plan B. Unlike that year, this year I slowly started getting back to social media, and especially when the pandemic happened and you find yourself as trying to cope with the fact that we are at home and no gyms, you can't go out, you know the story. My social media consumption started increasing day after day. Before it was just a little bit of Instagram and mainly YouTube. Now it's TikTok, and I love TikTok. And my brain started adjusting to having that constant stimulus and novelty. Slowly but shortly, I was back. It's like that scene from Limitless when the day after he takes the pill, NZT, and he feels like shit, like his confidence is gone, his focus is shattered, he can't do anything anymore. But unlike the movie where it happens in a day, where you can distinguish between the difference immediately, it happens in like a couple of months, slowly, day after day. So by the time it happened, you're just not aware of it. If I didn't have that vast self to compare myself to, I think I would have been just functioning like this, maybe for a year or two. And that brings us to the point that Cal Newport discussed in Deep Work, that one of the biggest problems of this generation is the fact that we think that we can turn from distracted to focus with just a snap of a finger, which simply isn't the case. Just as you don't expect to be fit or get stronger by just going and standing at the gym, you also shouldn't expect to be focused by just turning your phone off or your computer or just going to somewhere quiet. It simply doesn't work this way. The ability to focus is a skill that needs to be trained just like a muscle. And just like any athlete, by just doing the work and training it isn't just enough. You need to be also taking care of your body outside of these sessions. If you don't wane your mind from the continuous stimulus, if you don't resist switching to those distractions, fleeing the slightest hint of boredom, then you can't expect to that muscle to grow and nurture. By now you got an idea of how the constant switching between whatever we're trying to achieve and all the other distractions throughout the day trying to desperately get our attention can damage our focus. So the way I started working on this, exactly like last year, basically comes down to two main things. Number one is having a schedule of when and what I will be doing throughout the day. And this process, at least for me, is a lot of trial and error until I figure out what works for me and adjust it just until it finally works. And if you have a job that requires multitasking like myself, the goal here is not to not multitask, but rather eliminate all the other stuff that doesn't align with the context that you are working on. And this brings us to the second thing that won't be a surprise by now, which is controlling my consumption of social media, my phone, and the internet in general, and having scheduled sessions for them, even though it's really hard, but I'm still working on that. And the most challenging aspect about this is actually embracing those moments of boredom. Whether you are with a group of friends and you're feeling left behind, or you are standing in line or waiting for a friend, or even going to the bathroom, not letting go and going to your phone, embracing that boredom will open up big doors for your imagination, problem solving, to think about your problems more, and your creativity in general. And I like how Simon Sinek puts it in one of his famous interviews, which goes by,
But if you don't have the phone, you just kind of enjoy the world. And that's where ideas happen. The constant engagement is not where you have innovation and ideas. Ideas happen when our minds wander and we go, and you see something, I bet they could do that. That's called innovation, right? But we're taking away all those little moments.
And that sums it up for this video. Before I used to think that turning everything off is all there is to focus. But after reading deep work and going through that transformation last year, I have a total new perspective on how I approach this and how I look into my daily activities and interactions throughout the day and structuring the day itself. So I hope you get a glimpse out of this watching this video, and I totally recommend reading deep work. It's really life-changing, and I'll put a link in the description below. And if you find that video was helpful, then hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this, I put a video every Sunday. So make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next Sunday. Cheers!